Thousands of ships circle the smuggler's moon like flies around a rotting corpse. And that's what Nar Shaddaa is, rotten to its very core. Its endless cityscape heaves beneath noxious pollution and constant scurrying industry. Each venture gained here is as dishonest and depraved as the last, under the shrewd and greedy scrutiny of the Hutts. Amidst the endless cascade of freighters and haulers skimming to and from the moon's grim surface, there is a faint glimmer of a diminutive droid dropping from sub-light speed into Hutt Space. A probe droid now hangs in orbit, and it begins to transmit. Beza, you are looking at the reconnaissance readings displayed from the probe attached to LXC. As commanded, he has ensured that any time you go to a new location, a probe droid will precede your arrival. What is going through your mind when you see the readings of a world that is the pure antithesis of your own planet of origin, this hive of scum and villainy?
Beza does her best to remain neutral, but there's that bit of revulsion, that prejudice against it. It is so unlike the place she called home. And although she is not frightened to go there, she is not looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And now that you've seen the probe has arrived in orbit around Nar Shaddaa, do you communicate that to your comrades, your fellow Jedi?
Yes. I'm trying to remember, did we just all talk using like Force Link at this point, or do we have communications? I forgot.
You can absolutely use the Force to say that to people, but really it's entirely up to you.
Yeah. I think it's less words than the like the image. You could almost see it in your mind, like the blinking label underneath the screen, Nar Shaddaa, and the swarm of ships in orbit around it. We're here. Well, sort of.
Kai is not super thrilled about coming to a place like this. He's very familiar with places like this, having spent like his formative years growing up on a planet not unlike Nar Shaddaa. Very familiar with like the criminal underbelly of the galaxy, and he had separated himself from that quite deliberately, and now coming back he's got mixed feelings. He feels confident, like he knows what they're going into more than anyone else on the ship probably. But that confidence is mixed with sort of a tense feeling of these people don't know what this is like, and they speak in a very particular way, and that will be an absolute giveaway. And so we have to be very careful, he thinks to himself.
And what is it like when this horrid-looking planet invades the tranquil meditations of Thul?
Yeah, Thul sits within the most quiet place he can find in the Edict, his quarters, surrounded by his plants, a place of meditation. And his mind is not here on Nar Shaddaa, but back on Tython. He was reluctant to leave it, especially now that it has shifted more to the dark side. and the sensing of a will, one separate than ours. That is what fills his mind. But he trusts Kai and his desire to come here. It is true that he is out of place.
And finally, what was Rannan doing before interrupted by this vision of this hive of scum and villainy?
I think she was looking at the different sensors or other screens, trying to sort through other vessels that could be the one that they're seeking to rendezvous with. But when Shaddaa becomes so pervasive, she will dwell on what a fine ruse it is. It looks putrescent and repellent, but is actually extremely wealthy and important and powerful, and has this shroud of lawlessness and chaos, but is actually probably more ordered, more bureaucratic, and certainly more lawful than many other intergalactic entities, societies. And so it's existed here, weathering many intergalactic successive wars, and thinking what things of value are there to be strained from this morass. That fate has brought before them, and that's probably those kind of musings are probably on her mind until something else takes her attention.
It's absolutely true that throughout the many conflicts that have erupted across this galaxy, Nar Shaddaa has always remained. And indeed, it does display this staggeringly efficient hierarchy with the Hutts leering from the very top of it. You're all able to gather in the council area near the dojo within the Edict. Is there anything you wish to discuss before you arrive at Nar Shaddaa? And is there a particular place you would like to meet the Chiss, either on the planet's surface or in its orbit?
I would look to Kai.
I think he would sort of scratch his head and think of the best place to do so, and I think it would be an upscale. A really downscale, casino, something like that. Really, really gross. The more money that's involved, the more Hutt presence tends to be involved directly, in his experience, and so he thinks if we go to a shitty place, they don't have that much vested interest in it. Actually, can I make a what is it, skullduggery or streetwise or something check to see if that's correct?
Roll some dice? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Gotta get to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's going to be 11.
Yeah, I imagine that a story comes into your head about a particular establishment with its own very discreet landing pads upon the very borders of the industrial areas of Nar Shaddaa, where the predominant amount of its pollution comes from, which is staggering. It's known as the Pillar of Chips, and it has a particularly disgusting but shady and well hidden reputation as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. He would say, I know a place. Pretty upscale, he'll say with a grin. The Pillar of Chips. It also just occurs to me that we have a pretty huge ship. Are we going to land that? Or do we have
I was about to say, why not simply meet them in orbit, ship to ship?
Do we have a shuttle on the ship?
No, you sold it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Just I guess it is it can fly planetary, but it's pretty big, right?
Yeah, it's slightly bigger than the Falcon in its size.
Okay. So it's not okay. I think that's fine then. We can just land it.
Is it considered fancy?
It won't go on. It is a very nice ship.
It's notable, definitely.
It is notable for
it's
sure.
Old Imperial, right? Or like looks like it.
That's right, yeah. Sinar Industries.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, it's the same. I think it's the same in meeting them in space. Like, the same risks and whatever. You know?
Mm.
Maybe even more. I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how big the ship they bring is, really.
Yeah.
But like, if we do it in space, we preclude any hijinks from street gangs or dodgy dealers or whatever. Like, insert as a denizen of Nar Shaddaa. But yeah, I guess the benefit of doing it in person down on the ground is that they don't get to blast us from space.
Yes. Yep. Or put a tracker on our ship, or a million other things, you know?
Mm.
The other thing that'll occur to you with your role is that Nar Shaddaa is, it's fairly famous for not asking questions about the kinds of ships that arrive and leave from its surface for obvious reasons. So it isn't like you're going to have to signal anywhere where you're going to be landing, and you won't be having any kind of
You don't have to like fill out a form at the dock or
that's
whatever.
right, yeah, exactly, yeah. So there's that at least.
Okay, I think that's probably better.
I was going to say maybe we could land in a different location and then take either some type of public transportation or the swoop bikes to the casino.
I guess we could do that.
I say we get the Chiss to cover all costs, and we do the private landing pads.
Yeah.
And do it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So we'll land on one of the private landing pads then, I think.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, are you still having Alexei pilot for now?
Yeah, it's not me
Why
anyway.
not?
That's fine.
If he's capable, then yep.
He's capable, certainly. It's just whether anyone else wanted to take over. But if not, then I'll happily make a roll on his behalf. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So the ship takes a it isn't that great, but it's enough to level the edict in the right direction, and it soars through the towering columns of pollution and smoke, which kind of rise up from this planet's surface. It's an ecumenopolis. It is completely covered in cityscape. And as you get closer and closer, you see the thousands of lights of different buildings and speeders in endless rows of traffic. And eventually, you note the rough area in which you're going to be landing. The ship that you're in sort of skids in the air and makes an agreeable landing upon the platform with a and the ramp opens, and immediately you're hit with the feeling of humidity that exudes from this planet. So is it your wish to meet the Chiss on a different platform? Is that right?
In the casino, I thought.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, like away from the ship.
We have one of the probe droids on board, right?
That's correct, yes.
I'll activate it and have LXE and it both like just constantly monitoring so that if the ship is compromised, we'll be able to check.
Yeah, absolutely. The probe droid remaining is able to lift into the air and is almost instantly lost from eyesight, whether it be due to the pollution or the vast number of other droids and speeders filling the skyscape above. It is quite a walk to the pillar of chips. Then, if you're landing in a separate area to make your way there. You find that there are a number of walkways as you're sort of landing in the top of the skyline. this vast city planet operates on many levels, and there are these walkways that cross from building to building, like crossing giant canyons, the bottom of which are impossible to see. As you're making your way towards the casino, is there anything you wish to discuss before you arrive?
Kai would just say, don't make eye contact with anyone that you don't intend to start a fight with. Keep your voice neutral. Keep your eyes down. We're not important here. And everyone wants to show what a big dog they are.
Yeah, you just sense that unease from Thul. Unlike the arrival on Tython, this is just starkly different. A planet completely devoid of green, and is the life that does exist here does so at the expense of other life. So he is the last to leave the ship, and his eyes are and his thoughts are narrowed on his fellow Jedi.
Walking in, Kai will like try and assume the posture and like movements of like a high roller, and so sort of ignore people who come and talk to him, and then like walk to somewhere he thinks he's supposed to be, whether that's true or not, and just like sit and expect someone to come to him. He's like seen people do this, though he's never done it himself, never been rich enough. Like, if you act important, people think you're important.
Yeah, of course. As you all step into the side entrance of this casino, you immediately are awash with the sound of strange alien music that has a particularly strange beat behind it, groaning melodies intertwining with each other. You sit down, and the rest of you are able to. No one's really paying attention to you. The another great thing about being on Nar Shaddaa is that you keep your business to yourself, because if you don't, you become part of someone else's business, which becomes a problem. So you are able to move into the casino without any, without any problem. And you're quite right. It isn't long before a gibbering Duros approaches, and he starts chattering at you in his own language until realizing that might not be the best course of action, and starts addressing you in Galactic Basic. Ah, my friends. It is so good to see you. Is there anything I can attend for to you today?
Whiskey, Corellian, bottle, quick.
But of course. And he skitters off again. It isn't long before he returns with the bottle. Would you like to open a tab? And he sort of gestures with a hand as if to wonder what your name might be.
I would.
Very good. And he disappears again.
He'll like drum on the table and pour himself some of the whiskey. Look to the others, wondering if they have ever drank in their lives, or if Thule even can imbibe alcohol. He doesn't know. But nonetheless, he'll like offer it to them as well, and then, seemingly relatively comfortable, just wait.
Yeah, Rhiannon will like sip at the alcohol and just like blindfolded, just be sensing the proximity, and waiting patiently, trying to center herself.
It's as Thor was experiencing as he left the ship, the sheer amount of life that exists here sends a continual hum throughout the Force. But for you in particular, Rhiannon, there is a familiar feeling, familiarity with a particular entity that is making its way through the casino towards your location.
They're here, she says, over the top of her cup and from underneath the lip of her blindfold.
Yeah, and it isn't a few moments before a familiar figure appears out of arm's reach of you. A familiar figure indeed. You see the Chiss captain, Ludak Knoll, the one who you had encountered within the Enclave on Rusan, the one who had been choked almost to death at the hands of Rhiannon. You can see clearly perturbed by your presence, clearly been ordered to come here because he would recognize you. He stands there for a moment and then slowly makes his way to the bar, not doing his best not to look at you, leaning upon it with his forearms. So, you came, he says out of the corner of his mouth.
Of course. Stick to our word. Would you like some whiskey?
I have not tried such a beverage, but it would be unbecoming to do so whilst on duty.
Speaking of, where is your charge?
There is an elevated landing platform that our shuttle has landed upon. The moon shadow remains in sub-hyperspace. We did not wish to draw attention to ourselves. You note, Rhiannon, seeing through the Force, that his hand can't help but stray to his neck whilst he speaks with you.
Well, we are here, waiting for the student. Look, what happened on Rusan, that was unfortunate. And it put us on bad footing together. It's my hope that we can put that behind us and work together from here on out. There's no need to hold these grudges. You know, in my culture, there is a custom of sharing a drink to put old feuds to bed. Is that something you could agree to? With my apologies?
He looks at you with crimson eyes, definitely trying to assess whether there's genuine intent in your words, and he doesn't make any attempt to see if you're lying at all, and he takes your word for it, and he says, "It was an unfortunate situation upon the planet. You must understand that we were behind," and he pauses before he uses the word, "enemy lines. We did not anticipate to run into any of your kind."
It appeared to us that you had double-crossed us, that you were going to... That's why we acted so swiftly. And so... with such finality. Words are important. When you say a thing, you mean a thing.
I was demoted for my actions, and he looks so ashamed right now.
Well, with luck, you'll be able to rise again.
Indeed.
To your rise, then. And he'll raise the glass.
Ken looks at you with suspicion, but that begins to ebb, and he actually reaches for the glass, takes it.
Just sip it, he'll say. He doesn't want to embarrass him.
Yes, Corellian Ale, famously very strong. He does, and he pulls a face. The only kind of face you can pull when drinking such a beverage. Yes, an acquired taste, I'm sure.
Yes. One of the mysteries of it is the closer you get to the bottom of the bottle, the better it tastes.
Here are the coordinates for the landing platform. I will ensure that my strike troops are withdrawn. The initiate will meet you alone.
We'd rather hope to speak with your mistress. Is she in orbit? Might it be possible?
We may open a comms relay, a hologram, if that is your choosing.
One will look to the others. That's what we discussed, that we'd try and open a dialogue with Chiss, and this demoted. If he's not a captain, if he's demoted, then it's not really anything.
Yeah, he can probably open up a chat with her, though.
Because we want to hold off on that so we've had time to examine the initiate and speak to the Republic first. Okay. In that case, well, thanks for... we understand. We're appreciative that we can communicate if need be with your mistress, but for now we should see to our respective duties, namely exchanging the initiate, and that our pact may ensue, that you will no longer probe Jedi sites, and we shall support your species to come to know the Force.
He nods. We have adhered to your words. The moment you said it, all excavation teams were withdrawn from all sites across the galaxy. We remained at Rusan to meet the initiate, traveling from the redoubt, and then came here. It will be arranged that an open dialogue with Admiral Mathara Dawn can occur, but we shall wait on your word.
Very well. And she'll take the last straw of her cup and place it down. Ready.
He can't help but flinch slightly as you place the glass down. It doesn't take a check using the Force to see that this man, this Chiss, is highly unnerved to be around you. Despite the pleasantries that have been exchanged, he's still, not particularly happy with the arrangement. However, with a nod, he is able to transfer the coordinates with a flick upon his data pad. And with a nod, withdraws, and into the crowd he goes.
Well, that went well.
About as well as can be expected, I think. No treachery so far.
Not that we can see, running this ape blind and stand from the table. We shouldn't get into her.
They still want something from us.
Force, if they can master it as other species have, then they are in there with their own proof, are elevated above all the other sentient species of the galaxy. I presume that that's what they seek, mastery of the Force.
Yes, and until that, I feel we are safe from their aggressions.
We might be, not so the Republic.
Then it would be in everyone's best interest if we could facilitate a peace.
Agreed. Let's find out what we can from our student, and then go from there.
One question before you go. Do you pay your tab?
Yeah, if I have money, I do.
Yeah. With the sale of the shuttle, and once he'd spent the money to get the swoop bikes, you all have 40,000 credits to use, so you're able to pay for your Corellian ale.
Okay.
Did you say 40,000 credits each?
No, between you all. So
Right. 10,000, 40,000 a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll definitely pay for it. If not, I was going to go win a gambling game, but it doesn't need to happen. I can just pay for it.
I mean, you could still go win a gambling game if you wanted. But perhaps with more pressing concerns, you're able to leave the pillar of chips.
If you did that, man, you are the worst Jedi. You want to go win a game, use the Force to win a gambling bet.
Look at that! It's another Snake Eyes, another hard 8.
Yeah, well, in that case, then you're able to return to the ship, and you're able to supply LXE with the coordinates of this landing platform. And it doesn't take long for you to arrive, and you see beneath you one of those landing platforms that hover there with engines. And upon it, through the viewports, you see that there is a solitary figure standing there. As you land, the ramp opens once again with a. Are all of you going to go out to greet this person?
The air is awful on North Shaddaa, so I'd want them to basically come to us. But yeah, walk down to the end of the ramp at least.
We've all got respirator masks from equipment on the Edict, so like we can protect ourselves against the pollutants just by that.
Certainly, you see through the gloom that this platform hovers in, a figure walking towards you, a Chiss, a girl, no more than 17, with fair blue skin and a mane of messy red hair. She is adorned in a combat suit that is similar to the ones worn by the strike troopers that you met on Rusan. Over her shoulder, she holds what looks to be a force pike. And over her other shoulder, she carries a satchel, of the military kind of satchel. And she sort of stops at the bottom of the ramp and looks up at you. "You are Jedi," she says.
Greetings. I am Ranan. This is Thul, Beza, and Kai. You are?
She looks at you in turn, sort of clearly trying her best to make observations of you all. She does look particularly uncertain, having just been left to meet complete strangers in literally the worst planet in the galaxy. But after a pause, she says, "My name is Darinai Hatula. That is my full name of my people. But my galactic name is Dari Hart."
You're well met, Dari Hart. We've been eager to meet you. Will you come with us?
"I will. It is a..." And she struggles with the words. "It is an honor. There is many stories about those blessed with the Force, as you call it." I'll
That
come with
honor
you.
is shared. And Rhiannon will like incline her head and then like turn and try and lead her away from this place.
Yeah, she
the bag. Like we'll take the bag and help her aboard.
Of course. You actually reach for the bag, and she almost defensively clutches it towards her. But then thinks of it and then lets it go. So you're able to take that bag off her.
Yeah,
With
he
a
sort of put his hands wide like he wasn't trying to steal it. He was just trying to help. And then we'll put it over his shoulder and carry it aboard.
Do we sense the force from her?
do a sense check for me, please.
$24.
Not a 24, but 6 on the destiny dice. So 11.
Excellent.
13.
So first of all, with Rhiannon, then overwhelmingly you can sense the force from this individual. Admiral Mathara Dawn had said that they were sending someone of note. This is likely their most powerful, force attuned individual. But with that 6 on the destiny die for Thule, you note that as she's walking up the ramp, she passes you, and there is a moment of great conflict within her as she looks at you in particular. And you get a flash of an inconsistent and turbulent nature of the power that resides within this young girl. But her expression changes and becomes neutral, and she makes her way into the heart of the edict as the ramp closes behind her.
Yeah, as the doors of the edict close and the last like blinking lights of the scum city of Nar Shaddaa kind of wink out, and we're standing in kind of like the darkness of the ramp with me behind her. I speak to her. You know that Jedi see all things.
So the stories say, she says with a completely neutral voice. What do you see before you, Jedi?
A young Force user. How long have you known?
Others knew before I did. My people do not refer to it as the Force, however. They call it Third Sight. Is the name given to Chiss like me, who are trained to hone what mastery we can have over it.
I look forward to hearing about this training. But there will be enough talk of that later. Come. Enjoy what you can of our ship. I'm sure there'll be many times for us to speak later.
She nods and looks completely lost, but starts making her way inside, looking around. You can't tell much from her expression, but this is very different to the kinds of ships she would be used to, put it that way. And as she sort of wanders off down one of the main corridors of the ship, I really now leave it up to you as to what your next step is.
Do we want to go back to Tython? Do we want to just like begin heading towards Republic space to speak with them first? Because we can do a lot of the stuff we need to do with her on the ship. I think like we should test her to see like what kind of level she's at.
Let's ask her. What should we do now, do you think, Darihat?
She stops, turning around to look at you. I was told that you would be teaching me about the nature of the Force.
Yes.
Is that not?
And a lesson here to search your feelings.
Feelings, she says, completely confused by this.
Instinct.
Kai like
Feeling.
audibly goes, "Oh," like he gets why they're shit at the Force. Like all of a sudden, like he like loudly says it. He doesn't even realize that he like doesn't realize that he's doing it, and then sort of like looks at Renan, who's still talking, and goes, "Oh shit, sorry."
Your feelings. Like those feelings that gathered about you before you gathered yourself to step down the ramp to meet us, or before you stepped in and allowed the door to seal you in here. Feelings that drove you to strive to reach your station as one with the third eye amongst your people.
She stares long at you for a moment, and when I stood upon the platform, I was uncertain. And she looks so uncomfortable talking about this right now. I was afraid. The men spoke of what happened when they stood before you in Rusan. They said they wouldn't have had a chance. I was under the understanding of what little we know of the Jedi. The fear is to be avoided at all costs.
Much of what is spoken of the Jedi is not truth. It must be for you to decide if you will confront fear or avoid it.
She nods.
There's as much danger in repressing your fear as there is in facing it and overcoming it.
She's clearly taken aback by this. She looks around, trying to find the words before eventually saying, I thought you were great warriors.
We are.
Oh, really? She says with a sudden smile.
The point of all of this is not to be a great warrior. It's a byproduct. It's a discipline. The point of it is to not fight, to reach some kind of enlightenment.
And what if something forces your hand? What if something backs you into a corner and gives you no choice?
That's a difficult question, and one that we wrestle with every day of our lives.
The Chiss as well, she says with a cold look at you.
There's a lot we don't know about the Chiss, and we'd like to know what has led you to be here, in this galaxy, and much more. But I think first, you need to get comfortable here.
Yes. Do you have quarters that I could use?
I would assume we have quarters for people on the ship.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got quite a few to use.
We do. I'll bring you.
She nods, and Kai, you're able to lead her off to these quarters. I guess leaving the rest of you three alone, if there's something you want to discuss.
Well, you can certainly come with me. I wasn't like pulling her away, but
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, no, whatever. Yeah.
Sure.
Renan doesn't want to crowd her. She want to go to check out the readings from Alexei and the probe droid and make sure our ship wasn't tampered with, and to check the scans on Hutt to see if she has sensors, beacons, tracking devices, anything like that.
Yeah, of course. So the first of all, then, Rannon, looking at the readouts that LXC can provide to you, you notice that 3 ships with signatures that are almost identical to the kinds of shuttles that you saw on Rusan were definitely in the vicinity when the meeting took place. So they were definitely present, if not making all of their numbers known, but not close enough to have been much of a threat either. And a general scan of the ship, you mean internally, to see if there are any devices upon her in that manner?
Yep.
Yep. Can you do a computers check for me, please? And indeed, anyone can if you would like to aid in this or any.
If it's a 2-person job, then I'd get someone to work on it with me to aid me.
Yeah, of course.
Who would Baser probably be best at that, I imagine.
Yeah, I'll definitely aid you. And on the way, Beza will kind of look at Thule, and there's like this almost smug smile. She goes, "Did you hear that? Backed into a corner. The Chiss wrestle with it. There's a reason. I told you all there was a reason they're here. We'll find it."
Yes, the truth shall be known. But she must become comfortable with us.
So, if you would like to make a computers roll, then Rannon,
Yep.
and an added D6 for whoever else is assisting.
Yep. I did that, and I rolled terribly, so I'm going to spend one of my Jedi dice to double it, so that's a 16.
Yeah, absolutely. The internal scanning sensors of the ship do a complete rundown, and it is enough to tell you that there is no tracking device upon her.
After that, Rannon will turn to Baser and say, "You are of an age with the Chiss, Hutt, and perhaps may help to make her more comfortable and confident if you were to go to her after she's settled at her quarters."
I don't think we're going to be braiding each other's hair, but I get the point.
Rannon kind of inclines her head at that. I'm probably not sure with the nuances of it, but nods, that might be best. We should leave this place and not linger here. To where should I set the coordinates for Alexei?
Yeah, Thul, when the subject of traveling away from Nar Shaddaa comes up, we must protect Tython at all costs. Where should we go? How can we know that we are not tracked?
Only by going somewhere and then waiting to see if we are followed. I'll set coordinates for Republic space.
Absolutely. So,
You just pinball around.
I take it would be that you would like to head somewhere towards the core. Let's see.
Actually, we had the option of communicating with the Admiral, right? So that means she's in the sector. Do we want to do that before we go, guys? Do we want to just have a conversation with her of similar ilk to what we did with the crestfallen captain?
Yeah, maybe, and say, look,
might be worth it.
We want to try and smooth things over and ensure that no unnecessary warfare happens. Are you willing to meet? Go to a what is it, a summit? a meeting with some Republic officials to discuss, terms of neutrality and stuff like that.
Well, then let's ask her about what's bothering the Chiss. I think we need to know that.
Yeah. All right. I'm not sure if that guy gave me a reference or not, Lloyd, or like a code or something. But by hook or crook, would I be able to make good on that call to speak with the Admiral over comms?
I think that we could hail them, like they're in the same system, probably still. We didn't say yes to him, so I don't know if he would have given us
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't say so. I mean, it might be better to talk to her, and maybe she might be able to tell you. But
we have their readouts from the probe joint anyway, so we could, just like you say, directly hail them. So I might do that then, and I'll set up the comms to reroute so that this feeds into everyone's comm link. So even if they're not there at the cockpit or whatever, everyone will be privy to this as it happens.
Yeah, of course. So is that a direct an attempt to hail the Moon Shadow, the capital ship?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess it's computers again, right? Let's just see.
Alexei, hail the Moon Shadow for me.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm pretty good with computers as well.
If you prefer to, it's better than me rolling. I mean, it's up to you.
I've got 4 in it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
I see that. 10 total.
Okay, well, we're just going to say that Alexei is going to help you with an additional die, which makes that 15. So that's success. There is a pause as the communications hail goes through a number of varying security checks before identifying that this was the same signal that hailed the Moon Shadow upon Rusan. And then appearing in holographic form before you stands Admiral Mithara Dawn. And she says,
"Greetings." Oh, sorry.
No, she returns it. Greetings, Jedi. Am I to take this call as a confirmation that the initiate has arrived and you have brought her on board?
Yes, her tutelage has already begun. Your captain's conduct was most satisfactory.
There were mistakes made upon Rusan, Jedi.
Yes, on both parts, Admiral.
And you see that we have been good on our word. My intentions in this matter are clear. We greatly need your assistance in this matter. However, I will warn you, not all Chiss share my opinion on this situation.
Nor do all Jedi share mine. But this act of goodwill, let us hope, can be reciprocated again and again. To that end, I must say, I sense your intent is true, but also that your motivation is painful. If I may be so candid as to ask what troubles you, I sense burden and threat in both this initiate and in yourself, Admiral.
She looks genuinely taken aback for the slightest moment before the cold kind of disposition then returns to her. Obviously, still not used to talking to someone powerful in the Force. She says, I am not at liberty to discuss matters of the aristocrat, those that command the Chiss forces. I'm not at liberty to discuss that. But I will say that my motivation is somewhat different from most of my kind. I see the benefit of this alliance we have forged.
Can we call it an alliance, Admiral? Or do you share your species' prejudice for those who do not have the same genetic makeup as you?
I am a realist Jedi, and I understand that at the heart of any successful society, civilization throughout history, those that wield the Force have been present within them.
And they have all of them fallen, along with those who didn't up till now.
This is true. But it is still an advantage that we have lacked for a long time.
It's fair to say that it is your aristocrat's mandate as to why you are in these systems, as to why you've expanded into the Outer Rim.
That is correct, Jedi.
Known sectors. And so there is division, even amongst your highest of race, from your own perspective. You are ruled over.
She looks uncomfortable and then says, "It was not the most popular action that I have taken. I have been permitted a short window of time to discover what I can."
And what happens when that window closes?
She fixes you with a stare. I will have no choice but to adhere to the commands of the aristocrat.
Very well. We each of us have a master, whether it is our feelings or one above us. I sense you do not wish to speak further on this.
I am not.
So I will cease.
I am not at liberty to do so. To share any information with you beyond what I have already told you would be considered treasonous.
And your initiate, should she to pursue liberty, could she be prosecuted by your aristocrat?
No.
Or will you respect that she is now part of the Jedi Order?
She is part of the Jedi Order now, but she is also of the Third Sight. And their jurisdiction and their mandate is without equal, even to the aristocrat.
Might it be appropriate then that we should speak with them instead of yourself, who is a figment under the aristocrat? And if they themselves are a figment underneath Third Eye, would they consent to speak with us?
My intentions in sending Daranai was that she could speak freely with you in a way that I am unable to.
I see.
it would be seen as telling the great generals of your galaxy our plight and our situation.
It has always been the mandate of the Jedi Council and all followers of the side of light to aid those in the galaxy in their time of trouble, to prevent war and misfortune en masse. And I extend to you the hand. Probably the hand's probably not very appropriate. I guess a lot of the races that don't have hands extend to you our goodwill and the same offer that the Jedi Council can be called upon. You need only but ask if you are in peril. Your plight does not need to be burdened alone.
I deeply appreciate and thank you for your words, Jedi. And I will heed your words in the days to come. I will make it known to the High Command of the Chiss that this offer is upon the table. I cannot promise that they will accept it. But
if they wish
moment,
to continue with you as mediator, that is their prerogative, of course, but I thank you for taking the initiative to them on our behalf.
she inclines her head. How may we contact you? Or will you contact us?
We have your signature and we know which sectors you're operating in, and so can seek you out to communicate if need be.
She nods.
As for in the immediacy, we will be in Republic space, and so can be hailed there. If your intentions are of goodwill and peaceful, I cannot see why the Republic would not allow further mingling between the galaxies, various species. Many who were once foes now are friends in the wake of the Empire's destruction.
She nods.
And many remember still too the terror of Empire.
And many still wield it, she says.
And that is their choice. I will speak to you soon, Admiral.
She gives one last look, and it is one of almost surprise before she gives another curt nod, and the hologram sputters and then ceases. And that, I think, is where we're going to take a short break. So, yeah, we'll take 5 minutes and then we'll get back to it. For those of you watching now, live, and after the fact, thank you very much, and we'll be back shortly. So, as we return, you note that Dari Hart has taken some time to just be alone for a moment in her newfound quarters. What would you like to do now?
As far as the ship goes, like fly to Republic space.
Oh yes, that's
to a
right.
couple of different points to like muddy our trail to back to Tython. But as for like in the immediate or like what to do on the ship, I'm open to ideas.
So that's you want the course to be set to Tython, but via a few different hyperspace lanes.
Yeah. I don't even think we'll take the chance of like programming Tython as our ultimate destination just yet.
No.
Yeah.
I think it might be worth also speaking to the Republic. I guess we can't organize a meeting though, huh?
I think there's good possibility the Republic will want to meet with the Jedi Council, even if it's just given either curiosity or like because we're a vestige of their history.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, what are we gaining? I guess like
a sway, networking, communication.
Yeah.
I'm not out to get any like particular tangible thing from a trip to them.
Gotcha.
More to like touch base and make contact because presumably governmentally they embody probably what's closest to the Jedi ideals than say the crime syndicates or like the military empire of the Chiss. But I don't have any particular thing I want straight up from them.
Through just like the news channels of the Republic, have we, or kind of what passes as like evening to like news talk shows, is like the sentiment around like the Jedi, like that the Republic doesn't want anything to do with Jedi or the return of Jedi, or they're glad that they're gone, or
the last interaction really that the galaxy at large is aware of the Jedi was the Battle of Exegol, where the famous Jedi Rey Skywalker was able to turn the tide, defeating a newly risen emperor and stopping the First Order, essentially the final order. So from then, there's generally quite a good opinion of the Jedi. But in the time that has passed since then, kind of fallen back into obscurity. Once that happened, they vanished, they disappeared. So it's a big mystery, really, as to what happened to them. So really, that could be an advantage that you have. You can make a big comeback and make an impact across the galaxy, or you could stick to the shadows. So am I right in thinking then that you are heading towards Tython, not to the Republic?
Ultimately, yes, but at first we just want to veer through the Republic, just to muddy our trail, just to go like to different places, so that on the chance that they were to be trying to track or follow us.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going straight back to the Bat Lair, so they just follow the Batmobile's wheel tracks back to the Bat Lair.
Can I have a quick word with her when I brought her to the room?
Yeah, of course. So as the room, the door opens, she takes a look inside, and you're just standing there for a moment.
I'll say this up front because the others have a tendency to get a bit theoretical. It's very important that you're honest with us, and we won't lie to you, because all of this depends on your honesty. All of the training, all of it, will only work if you're telling us the truth about how you feel and what happens. And do you understand?
She looks up at you, and she says, "What's your name?"
It's Kai.
Well, Kai, I was assured by many people before I was brought to you that it is impossible to lie to you.
Yes, it is. But that would require an application of the Force that we would find usually to be rather immoral. And so my preference would be that you are just forthright with us and you tell us the truth. We have no intention of like burrowing into your mind, though we can.
I have nothing to hide from you, Kai, or any of your friends. I'm here because my people's well-being is at stake.
So then I'll ask you, do you have anything on you that is being tracked?
I have nothing on me that is being tracked, but I do have this comlink. It is programmed with many frequencies that would allow me to get in touch with my people, if I wished.
That can't be allowed.
She basically reaches to the sort of utility belt thing that's on her and pulls a comlink off her side and just holds it out for you.
You have some understanding of the Force. Can you crush that?
She is suddenly taken aback a bit. It was something that was insisted against by those that commanded me. You don't know much of the third sight, do you?
No. Nothing.
Perhaps I will explain more when the rest of your friends are present. But they insisted upon discipline and not allowing our powers to manifest in such ways. Really, an emphasis was placed upon precognition and reflexes. But if you wish, and you note that the comlink begins to like shake in her hand, if I try really hard, it shakes more. I can manage it, and it spurts with embers and sparks. That's all I can really manage at the moment, she says.
Huh. That's good.
It's slightly unnerving in a way because this individual hasn't ever been taught by a Jedi before.
Yeah. No, he's definitely nervous, but he's trying to maintain like this is all fine and normal.
100%, yeah.
But it's pretty worrying. And so your focus is on reflexes.
That's right. Some people who don't understand would dismiss the third sight as precognitive operatives and assassins. I suppose that's what we are. The idea of this young girl calling herself an assassin is something that doesn't seem good either.
No. Okay, well, get some rest. We'll call you for a meal.
She nods. My bag?
Oh, yes. And he'll like fling it at her as fast as he can.
like to test her, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Are you using the Force to do so?
No, I don't want to hurt her. I don't know what her capabilities are, and if I like force push the bag at her, she might get hurt. And I don't want to. I also don't want to like intimidate. So I'm really just like, I guess like I shrug it off my shoulder, and then rather than hand it to her, I just like throw it normally without the Force.
Yeah, she is able to catch it, and the Force of which, you know, a normal throw wouldn't bother her. If you had thrown it with a Force, that might have been her. But she catches it and notes what you were doing, what you were testing, and she just nods. A meal.
Saw
That would
that
be
one
nice.
coming, didn't you? Very good. He'll say, and then go.
And she watches you go before she turns her back on you.
As he gets like a couple of steps down the hallway, his like smile will fall, and he will be quite concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he'd go find the others, I think, and inform them of what happened. That she, like, that the Third Eye are seemingly like operatives, assassins, black ops, and that despite being told not to show outward signs of the Force, that she's able to, without any training in it, like to manipulate. What is that one called? Is that alter? Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been Alter.
That there's like raw talent there, uncontrolled.
And we should conduct her training in the safety of a planet and not in the vacuum of space, if that is our intention.
And she seemed forthright with you.
She did. Maybe. I asked her if she had any means of, if she was being tracked. And so either she's lying or she doesn't know. But she did have a communicator. I asked her to crush it and she did. I think we need to do a full scan of her to see if there's any cybernetics, something like that, that could be tracked. But I think she's telling the truth.
Yeah. We did already, and we found no such cybernetics.
We should do it again, 10 times. We can't be too careful with Tython.
I agree. We should leave her belongings here. And it's gesture.
What
to,
of
like,
her belongings
open
would she need anyway? Like,
none.
she will need nothing but the Force.
Beza, like, tilts her head to the side and raises one eyebrow. Assassin or not, she's hardly more than a child. Perhaps there are personal effects.
Many of us were not children when we were 17, Beza.
That doesn't mean she can't miss home.
This is our home now.
From the texts of old, it seems that Padawans, not that I'm calling her a Padawan, but that Padawans were stripped of any vestige of attachment to their former lives to make more efficient their training. But if we are to act under the precept that confrontation of attachment and emotion is as important as overcoming it to enlightenment, then we should not preclude her the chance to examine herself and her own attachments. Maybe we should see what she will do with them when the time comes.
I agree. She is
Yes.
extremely eager to do the right thing, the thing that she thinks we want her to do.
And she will part with her belongings willingly.
Willingly. Whether she wants to or not is a different story, but she will do so, certainly. She follows orders. That's abundantly clear to me. If we tell her to do something, she'll do it.
Then we must take care to teach her to know her own mind as well.
That'll be hard, I think. It's my impression that she's been deeply indoctrinated, and that she's been in this program for a long time. She called herself an assassin when she's 17. Likely from childhood.
She has no great experience of liberty, nor seeks it, which will make it difficult for her to trust her feelings if from childhood her culture forces her to repress them.
And that should be our focus.
Agreed. And let her training stem from that place. As you proposed in Tython, with the different forms of counselings and training, in addition to the conventional Jedi art. It seems with her eagerness and keen sense of duty, she would benefit from these things commencing at once and in good number and frequency, yes.
Yeah, Kai nods. Let's eat. We can sit with her, and I think the best thing we can do for the start of her training is to just be around her and be normal.
Runnan gives like a rare smile at that, not looking around, of course, with no eyes, but sensing the vast disparity between all of us, ethically, mentally, and physically, and smiles to herself, and then will kind of give some command to Alexei so that we can all break bread together.
Yeah, there's the familiar jolt as the edict drops from hyperspace before Alexei signals new coordinates into the systems, and the stars elongate, jump into hyperspace in a different direction. There is the whirring as in the canteen sort of area in the mess as one of the catering machines or whatever produces whatever it is that you have in terms of provisions, and a meal is made. There is a table. Yeah, protein, sorry. There is a table that can be brought into the dojo area. I know it'd be in the mess area. There's a table there for you to sit round. And soon, though it doesn't look particularly nice, a pleasant smell fills the area, and dinner is served.
Does she join us eventually?
I'll go get her.
Yeah, as you round the corner, you see Beza that the door of her quarters is still open, and she sat upon the bunk that's in there, with her hands in her bag, and she looks up as you enter.
Dear Heart, we're going to eat. Would you like to join us?
She stands and rather formally says, "Yes, thank you."
I'm Beza, by the way.
Beza. That's a nice name.
Thank you. What of your name? Does it mean something?
She fixes you with an uncertain look. It does. I don't like it though.
I don't really like mine either. It's just a color. It's nothing special.
She struggles. The language of my people is strange. I took this name to better acclimatize to operations throughout the galaxy, to understand the people that live in it. It is strange to be outside of the borders of the Chiss.
So, Derryheart is what you called yourself, but it's not your name.
It is just a simpler version of my name. Darinai Hatula is my full name. It means light of a dying star. Not exactly an icebreaker.
I mean, it's more interesting than a color.
She sort of just fixes the ground with a stare.
Do you prefer Derryheart, or is Darinai Hartula better?
No, Derryheart, please. Or just Derry.
Well, if you're hungry, we can go this way.
She nods and follows you. And as you enter the mess, she sort of like stands awkwardly in the doorway as the rest of you are preparing to eat, and then very gradually makes her way to sit at the space that you've made for her. And she looks questioningly at the food before tentatively trying some.
Is there something you prefer to eat? We can make it.
She considers this for a moment and then gives like a nod. No, this is nice. My people don't really go for spending too much time on culinary experiments.
Experiments.
Full's not hiding his desire to be as alien as possible as he dunks the lower half of his body into a large bowl of liquid in which he like slurps it up through both his mouths.
She gives like a look at you across the table. I imagine she sat directly opposite you, Thul. But she doesn't say anything. She is clearly very nervous, as anyone would be coming into a group of people that all know each other. But she doesn't look particularly uncomfortable, but does seem to be enjoying the food that you've provided.
Well, how's everyone doing? Kai will say, sort of. He's just, like, these are not his friends, really, and this is also like a weird silence, which is a common thing among this group, like a tension or like a strained something. And it's very different to like the places he would have grown up, where like particularly eating would have been like a very big communal activity.
Yeah, as the vegetable broth kind of leaks out of his mouth and over his lower chin, he turns towards Derryheart. Where did they say the third sight comes from? What is its source?
The power or the initiative that I'm part of? I know it's quite confusing, it's sharing a name.
Maybe.
And what is the first site? Oh, sorry, Lloyd, you go.
Maybe we could give our student some time to become accustomed and comfortable. He'll say, sort of looking at them like, do we have to grill her like now, immediately? Like, can we... He thinks like that she will be more keen to open up if like it's not the minute one after she gets on the ship, you know? Do you have any siblings?
All of you do a sense check.
Ooh.
Oh man, put my foot in it, huh?
Yes, you did.
Let's not grill her. So, your personal life. Tell me about
I was
it.
just thinking that. I was like, really? That's an odd choice.
That would be easier, I thought. Than
No,
like,
it is. Yeah, no, I see where Lloyd was coming from. 12,
14.
14.
14.
19, but a 1 on the destiny then.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
We don't even actually know, like, did Chiss have, like, family units? Like, we don't know any of that.
We're about to get that explanation.
For
So
the
I was grown in a
majority,
pod.
for the majority of you, upon the mention of "Do you have any siblings?" for the briefest of moments, all of you see the flashing of blaster fire, but a kind of blaster fire that none of you would be familiar with. Alien weaponry leveled towards her, you see just in flashes. But Thul, with that 1 on the destiny die, immediately you form a empathic bridge with her for just a moment. And you feel like every member of your herd has been exterminated before your eyes for just a second. That feeling, that gut punch of losing someone that is closest to you, and it's almost like you're physically hurt for a moment at the dinner table. How do you react to that?
Okay. Yeah. I immediately reach out with sense to like block her from like entering my mind, or just shield myself like in a defensive manner. I think my mental defenses would go up. Yeah. I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, she sort of looks up first defensively at the question, and then looks towards you, Thul, with horror, before then hastily looking back down at her food.
Yeah, I would audibly speak. What was that?
Azo would gently interject. Many people have difficult pasts. You're not the only one.
Kai is... I guess he would have seen when she came onto the ship that she looked at Thul unusually. And he would have thought that was to do with xenophobia, but now he's concerned it might be because she recognizes his kind of alien from the way that all went down. And I guess he would like put that thought into Thul's mind, like ask that question.
I just try to do that with the Force. Is this bridge still like, was it just like for a moment we were connected and then it's like was severed?
It's almost like her defensive recoiling kind of severed it.
Okay. Then yeah, I would. My kind, have you seen it before?
She gives you a long look and then says, I have seen your kind before, yes.
Yeah, Thor's becoming somewhat agitated seeing like the extermination of his race, and says, "Where? When?"
She takes a look at the rest of you gathered around the table and then looks back to you. All over the galaxy. With the third site, we've had many operations in the larger galaxy.
Okay, yeah, this he settles at like this information. And like his posture becomes relaxed.
She gives a look at you, Beza, as if to be like, what?
Beza, it's like a little flummoxed. And she'll just kind of look towards Thul and then back at Dari and just give like a little shrug and kind of shake her head like the, oh.
She sort of looks to you, Thul, and says, I'm sorry. I just thought you saw. Did you see? She doesn't know how to continue. You saw something, didn't you?
Yes. Speak in your own words. What was that?
She makes like almost a defeated laugh escapes her for a second. And then she looks back to you. Where I come from, we're told that kinship, the Chiss at large, is everything. All outsiders are to be mistrusted. You can see why I feel this way. You saw it just then. For a long time, for as long as I can remember, our people have been at war. In a war far beyond the borders of this galaxy.
Who is the foe?
She sort of gulps almost, like just thinking about it. a race known as the Grisk. Is there anything to do with species on the I haven't got the character sheet up in front of me, I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
xeneology.
Yeah, if all of you guys would like to give a roll of that, it's not going to be a
Certainly.
particularly easy
Oh my
roll,
God.
though.
Wait, where's the
I will,
Oh, there
before
it
I
is.
rack my brain of it, could I ask Alexei to rattle off what he knows about the Grisk to get me an aid?
Yeah, of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good idea. Go for it.
Do that then. We got 8, 12, 5, 17.
Yeah, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Taylor.
11 for me.
Okay. Yeah, you almost have to repress a snort of confusion for a moment, because the Grisk are invariably looked upon as kind of like a mythical race, which is kind of strange thinking about the many complex and strange races that there are in the Star Wars galaxy. But overall, this is a race of aliens that are considered to be, well, not real. Almost like saying they're like the boogeyman. Almost they're looked on in that kind of sense. But from your research and readings about the galaxy at large, perhaps there is some credence to their existence. But yeah, that's sort of what you know.
They are said to be terrifying warriors and hosts of innumerable number. In what ways are they dissimilar from the Chiss?
She fixes you with an icy stare. They're nothing like us.
They dwell on the fringes of unknown space. They are expansionist. They have a warrior culture and society.
They force our hand at every turn. She spits.
They force the hand of your admirals to steer their fleets into these sectors as you are losing your own to the Grisk.
They are but a precursor, she says, like suddenly like snapping, and you can almost feel like a wave of energy from her.
Yeah, I want my body language to her to be one of someone like fearful or like attracted by her, so that she feels more compelled to be disclosive rather than to bottle it up further. I'll kind of act like her words are having an effect on me, such to make me quail or be fearful, so that she feels more comfortable in like speaking more of it.
Yeah, she continues, and your body language serves only as a method for her to continue. And she says, just as we are compelled to expand, so are the Grisk. They are a precursor, moving in upon Chiss territory because they are pressed upon from even further reaches of unknown space.
But you do not know their foe?
We know enough. The far outsiders.
Far outsiders. They are the enemy of the Chiss.
They are the enemy of everything.
Yet most think of them only as myth.
Not for long, she shakes her head.
I imagine many myths will be dispelled in this age.
Perhaps.
Perhaps the aristocrat or those of the third sight seek to empower those hopeful assassins who display force sensitivity by having them tutored by the Jedi Order, that they may be turned as a weapon against the Grisk.
Admiral Mathara Dawn believes that the Force is the only thing that will defend us.
She's right.
Then I await your tutorship eagerly.
I won't say this, but I'm musing that we're probably not as eager to give out that tutelage now that this information's come to light after the fact. But she'll get it one way or another. So would I take then, Dari, that your end is not to become one of the Jedi Order and to follow the path with us, but to gain our theories and doctrines that they may be used by the Chiss Ascendancy in its defense against the Grisk?
I will not lie to you. And then she sort of like glances at Kai for a second, remembering the conversation about it being impossible to lie to you.
It is not your lies for me for which I would be wary. The lies we tell ourselves, they are the most potent ones.
She then looks back to you, Rannan, and then very earnestly says, I do want to learn the ways of the Force. In the ways of the Jedi.
Would you reach to the dark side if it gave you the power to quell the Grisk?
She sort of looks down again and says, the light, the dark. I don't know how to tell the difference between them.
Yeah, that stills Rannan. Her face is probably a bit of a mask anyway, but like those who are so keenly Force aware would probably sense some disturbance within her at that. Those are sentiments very close to home. I'll say to her on that point that we ourselves still are working toward a definition between the light and the dark.
She suddenly gets up and says, I'm not hungry anymore. May I go?
Of course. You are not captive.
She scurries from the room.
I'll turn with a dark look to my companions. They could see the storm clouds through the blindfold.
Yeah, Kai let out a long breath that he'd been holding.
Be normal, right?
No wonder her carriage is so dutiful. Her warrior culture would place the fate of her species on the shoulders of her and her ilk. And with that fear and burden, I worry at how that may distort her tutelage.
If the Grisk are a problem for the Chiss, then they'll be a problem for the Republic also.
Yes.
There could be common ground there. And if these far outsiders are a problem for all of us, then there could be common ground there.
And if we unite together to defeat the Grisk, then after the Chiss are free to become ascendant once more, would we not be engaging in a war to liberate our next foe to face us?
You presume then that the Chiss would continue their spread rather than...
Yes, their expansion was evident even in the early days of the Empire. And their expansionism is no reactive thing of this recent Grisk expansion, I would imagine. But expansionism that predates that threat, yeah.
The war can make allies. And With an allyship can come peace.
Yes, there is opportunity there.
It will be hard to change a race, but we can gain perhaps peace for this age.
It's worthwhile to try. We can't be certain as to the motivations of the Chiss, but we can be pretty certain that they are pragmatic. And that if the trouble truly is that they're fleeing from this race, that they would gladly accept help in exchange for a treaty of some kind, some guarantees.
Sense that there may be those like Mystara who wish to seek aid and would accept it. Maybe there are those more prejudiced and xenophobic in the aristocracy, though, who would not. Maybe that's the source of Mystara's conflict.
I suppose we can try.
There'll be no easy feat to compel the Republic to come to the aid of the Chiss, who I'm sure their intelligence has been purporting them to consider a threat these past spans.
There's that saying of the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Is our new order beholden to the Republic? Is the Chiss? Is the Griss? Are they not life forms? Should we not come to their aid?
In a way, it is nature as much as the pollutants and criminality of Shaddaa is nature, as the tempestuous spectrum of the Force is on Tython. At what point does will take the place of nature? Or is there even that point, Master Thul? And if that is so, should we all lounge to apathy and let nature consume around us?
Certainly not.
Or is it inside us that we know that the Gresk's expansion is wrong, just as we felt that the Chiss's perceived expansionism is wrong? The right of one species to dominate and eat another to survive is one thing, but beyond biological necessities, is that truly nature thereafter?
But these Griss might be, like the Chiss, forced by these unknown races. What of them? We have not the information. We have not the knowledge to act.
And what if there's something behind them, forcing them?
That would serve the logic. Like that there's a force behind each force compelling all forces together. That in essence sounds like the Force.
I don't know that we can ensure peace between all peoples for all time in the galaxy.
Peace is not a natural state.
No. What we can try to do is limit the cost of lives as best we can, and look to see which of these societies are kinder or more helpful or less cruel. He shrugs.
And there's also a simple limit. There's a galaxy, there are many galaxies, there's an entire universe, and we can hardly keep peace across all of it for an eternity. Surely the best course of action is to do what we may close by. Seems to me in the near term, That looks like a peace between the Chiss, the Republic, perhaps an alliance even.
Perhaps the building of this order is the most important thing we could do. I do not wish to squander this opportunity. We are just 4, but we can build something that will last. A power that can act where no other entity can act.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's best to step out of this and focus on the Force and the training and the building of a school and the building of the Order, and let the Force dictate what happens in the galaxy as it always does.
Bullshit. You're not going to bury your head in the sand, Kai. None of us are. What good is a school and a creed if people die by the thousands and the millions while a war rages that we could have stopped?
We're not talking about stopping wars, though. We're talking about adding to the size of the slaughter of an impending war. By binding allies to the Chiss, we increase the souls that will be destroyed or returned to the Force.
The question you have to ask yourself is, there are 4 of us, and if we die, there are no more Jedi. Thousands upon thousands of years of scholarly pursuit and study and knowledge would be lost. We're the only ones.
Yeah, Full's looking at Kai with new eyes.
I thought that this was a struggle between the Chiss and the Republic, and I thought maybe we could do something. But we have discovered a lot about the Chiss that is not as it seems. Like, yes, they are a entity much like the Empire, but there's something behind them, and it goes on forever. I don't know that we can do anything about that in the grand scheme of things. We can try to broker some sort of at least civil relations between the Republic and the Chiss, but there have to be more of us. If a war breaks out and there are us 4, yeah, we are mighty and we are capable, but we are 4. And we also, if there is a war and we join a side, are the most obvious targets. We need to pass on this knowledge.
Master Thul, if the Force has a will of its own that it dictates throughout the universe, and if the Jedi Council has not always existed, what is the consequence of no Jedi? What would it mean for how the Force interacts with our universe if we 4 were not to be a part of it? And would that change anything at all?
What came before us? What became before our forefathers? When we were not species? Who knows? You're asking an impossible question. I do not know the will of the Force, though I do believe it does exist.
Master Skywalker used the Force and her sway and the Battle of Exagon was won. But there's no final battle, or there's no last war. Ere looms battle and war. And before Master Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, the Battle of Endor, how many lives were lost then to secure a peace? But even by the shortest lived of species known to us, that peace was short-lived. What is the purpose of these wars that we Jedis generalize? And if it is those short-lived pieces which punctuate the intergalactic wars, is that even so mighty a triumph?
Those wars were different in that specifically they were a battle between the dark and the light. There were always Sith in those battles and Jedi in those wars. This war is, as far as we know, not like that.
But we don't know.
No, we
What
don't
if the
know.
Grysk have Sith?
The Grysk
Perhaps that is why Master Ray went to the edges of known space.
we don't know. How can we find out? They are outside of this galaxy.
That does not matter to we who can harness the power of the Nexus, but she'll cast her eyeless gaze on Beza. That
And if we were to do that, if we connected with a Sith, it would be like a beacon. Surely.
Well, either we decide that we don't know, or we look and we find out.
It may be that we are in the age that we must act, but know that we do so, knowing that we are the only four left. And if we are lost, as Kai said, then much is lost.
36,000 years of the Jedi Order would be lost.
and our mandate from Master Ray specified gathering resources and knowledge of the Jedi Order to rebuild it. She spoke nothing of intergalactic politicking, nor of preemptive or shadow war. And what would our sacrifice be worth in this war if history shows us there's only another war waiting in the next decade or span, compared to, as Kai points out, nearly 40,000 years of dogma and scholarship?
And then what would you tell Dari?
She came to us to learn of the Jedi and to be a Jedi. That's the agreement we entered into with the Chiss, not to turn her into a Force warrior.
It's a byproduct.
And is she not the same as us? We all, each of us, drew upon the Force, light and dark alike, to alter our fates, to create this destiny. Could we in good conscience deny that to her?
It doesn't have
Without
to be
the
a byproduct.
Force.
This is what we talked about, that not every Jedi has to be a warrior. And in fact, it's better if most Jedi are not warriors.
Yes, a Jedi is a conciliator before they are a warrior.
And a scholar and a seeker of enlightenment before any of that. Maybe not me, but those who come after us.
best way to keep safe our knowledge is to continue our order and to support Force sensitives who come to seek our counsel or influence. And so far, diary is all we have.
Well, firstly, no one knows how to seek us out. And secondly, how could they if there's a war that happens and kills everyone?
So what do you want to do, Beza?
Can we at least set up negotiations, talks, something? Can we try and prevent war here in the galaxy that we all call home?
I extended our orders assistance to Mystara, and she said that she would speak to her superiors to let them know of our pronouncement. Perhaps something may come of that, and we will speak to them and can deal with the matter of the Grisk.
I, for one, would find it difficult to sit on Tython and set up house and school while the galaxy burns.
But even now, there is murder and wanton criminality, and trillions are enslaved or oppressed or victims. We conduct our own affairs in the face of that, and knowing that full well.
Isn't that exactly what the Jedi used to do? And why everything went so wrong is because they wouldn't get involved?
I don't know on what level you think that we can change these things with only the four of us. We cannot be in all places at once.
You're right, Kai. The four of us cannot change things.
There is some hidden meaning to what you just said, but I cannot find it. If there's something specific you want to say, then say it.
Beza lets down the wall she'd been kind of holding, and you just see like oil and water not mixing, and you see things colliding and not combining, and all these things which seem incompatible. And it's all those things that she's feeling. It's like the four of them can't mesh.
It's a strained relationship that we have. It's not easy or comfortable, but we're the only ones, so we have to work together to do something. And so yes, I mean, we've tried to get the Chiss to speak to the Republic. And we can say as much to the Republic as well, encourage them to get into talks with them, but beyond that, I don't know what we can do. If we want to stop the war preemptively by using the Nexus to take out Chiss ships, we can do that, but you didn't want to do that. And so, I don't know how else the four of us can stop the war from happening.
in good conscience, I can't imagine a good way that we could. I know that through calling upon the power of the dark side, we could alter the views of those power brokers of the Brisk and Chiss. But then are we not debasing the Jedi to do that? The very tools we'd use to avert an abomination, we would become so ourselves.
We are charting a new path. How can we say what is right and what is wrong?
Unlike most other Jedi Knights before us, our interpretations of that come from our own experiences and not the tutelage of a Jedi Master. Each of us only have a dozen years under Master Ray. Before that, the full gallery of the universe was our master, our task mistress and tutor. We
Yes.
are as much students as Dari is, in truth.
And we are students from vastly different schools, and that makes it difficult to agree on anything at all.
And beyond our schooling, there is our unique individual physiologies. We're all of different races, all of different cultures. Perhaps that is why the Jedi were so uniformed and conformative to eliminate this disparity that we experience. Perhaps why that's why they all wore the same tan robes and strange haircuts en masse, to de-identify, to depersonalize, to decustom, to become dispassionate. She says, like, only just coming to the realization that her words spoken are already had.
Mm.
Yes. Though you may not agree that their force does have a will, but when it is greater than your own, it is easier to sacrifice yourself to it.
Force has a will of its own. It's been exercising it indefinitely.
And we must discern its purpose in this age and help to bring it to fruition.
It is then that the edict begins to rock as it drops into its final jump into hyperspace, which, as you know, needs to be aided with the usage of the Force if you are to arrive on Tython. So one of you is going to have to do that to arrive and make the necessary checks.
Is it a sense roll?
It certainly is, yes.
I'll do it. Okay, 12, 16, 19, 21.
Yeah, tell us what it's like as you guide the edict to its, after a dozen jumps as it arrives at the destination of Tython.
Yeah, the need for the mechanics of the ship become apparent once we get close to Tython within its orbit. It's as everything starts to blink and become erratic. And then there's just a steadying of it, and the ship's controls go dark as it's guided through sense down to the surface.
Yeah, once again, through the viewports, you are greeted with the lush and beautiful landscape of Tython, with its rising pillars of ice and its lush green pastures and rushing rivers. The Edict swings about and comes down to rest at a position not far from the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, I mean, I guess once we're here, like, Kyle will be happy to get out of the ship. We've been in it for a long time, and we're on Shaddaa, and there hasn't been any like nice air for a while, so he'll get out and sort of.
Yeah, Dari stands at the top of the ramp behind you, Kai, and is just sort of looking around in awe at this place.
Yeah, seeing her kind of wonder of it, I say to her, the Force comes from all life, and it flourishes under its diversity.
She looks at you and gives a nod, sort of like dwelling upon this information. She walks tentatively down to the bottom of the ramp, and slowly lowers one of her boots onto the ground, as if expecting the ground to give way or be strange in some way.
I'd try and compel Dari to reach out using the Force, not to a future or to a probability or even reflexively, but just presently. And just try and get her to key in with Tython the way, in the like purest kind of way that Thul did when we first landed here.
Yeah, she looks up at you at the top of the ramp, and kind of, you can see her wrestle with doubt for a moment, and you kind of sense her remembering you, telling her to reach out with her feelings, and she's going to.
And I'll aid her.
Oh, okay, perfect. So that's another die. And with a 6 on the destiny die, it couldn't be more perfect. You see her expression become one of joy, seeing through this confusing and alien power in a way that brings her complete clarity, rather than it being linked with confusion and combat instinct. And she says, I can feel the planet. I can feel everything. And she looks to the temple and says, is that it? And then she realizes she might have been rude.
Kyle laughs at that. Yep, that's it.
And taking a bag and throwing it over her shoulder, looking to the horizon where this temple rests, Dari Hart takes her first step on a journey to a larger world. And that is where we're going to leave this session this evening. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you to those that to you who have watched now live and after the fact. And do remember that I hope that all of your performances are up to standard.